Okay, I see some people are already logging in. Good morning, everyone, or good evening for those of you who are in Asia, in the APAC region.
Hello from me, everybody.
And Sam Hardy is here. He's ready to do his wonderful presentation. So we'll just give it a minute to give everyone the chance to log in. So please sit tight. And if you feel like it in the meantime, you can write in the chat where you are joining us from. And any questions about the art of sales that you might have for Sam, just put it in the chat box. We're game for ask me anything, I think.
Definitely. Just type any questions you may have, and at the end, I'll answer them.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I see some familiar names. Good morning, Itza, Gergana, Dimitri, Paola. Ricard, good morning from Barcelona. Wonderful. Thank you for joining us. Okay. I would say let's get started. Oh, Robin from the Philippines, and then we have Vienna. Plovdiv, I hope I pronounced it correctly.
Plovdiv, yeah, that's where I live.
Okay, excellent.
Local
Madrid,
support there.
Cyprus. Oh, wow, wonderful. Okay, keep it coming. In the meantime, welcome everyone to this morning webinar, as we call it here at Gala. Today, we're going to talk about the art of sales in the language industry. And the presenter is Sam Hardy. He's head of partnerships at One Stop Asia, and it's his very first Gala webinar. So please, let's give him some encouragement in the chat. You all know the webinar is going to be recorded. I'll follow up with an email and a link to the recording as soon as it is published on our website. We're going to have a Q&A at the end of Sam's presentation. So write down in the chat any questions that you might have as you think of them. And then we'll try and answer them. And for now, I'm going to give the floor to Sam.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. My name is Sam Hardy, and I am the Director of Regional Partnerships at One Stop Asia. As Isabella said, it is my first webinar, and I'm very excited, but I'm also quite a bit nervous as well, so please bear with me. I want to take this chance to thank Gala for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. And without further ado, welcome to the Art of Sales in the Language Industry webinar. So as you can see, I've been blessed with the opportunity to experience so many points of the sales spectrum over my years. When it comes to sales, if you can think about it, I've pretty much done it. And my sales career is built on practical experience and not theoretical knowledge. I don't have an MBA. I don't have any formal sales education in any way, shape, or form. All I have is tried and tested first-hand sales experience and a deep understanding of sales and human characteristics. When it comes to sales, I like to compare it to the first Matrix movie at the end. Neo's fighting Agent Smith, he's getting beat, and then he gets up and he realizes he's the one. He starts to see everything in the green Matrix code. And I like to say that if you're really good at sales, you're able to see that green code. And I like to compare myself in that category as well. And when it comes to sales training, I like to keep it simple, direct, and provide only useful information. Now, to get a better understanding with regards to your experience in sales, the audience, if you can just type in the chat now, number 1, if you currently work in sales, number 2, if you're not currently in a sales role, but have previous sales experience, and number 3, if you've never worked in sales before. I'll just give you a second to do that. Let me see if I can. So a lot of sales professionals, yeah, great. Excellent. So there's a lot of sales professionals here. That's excellent. So I'm moving on. Now I want to provide some context with regards to certain things that I want to touch on. And I want to start by talking about my sales philosophy. And the first point is sales is about connection with people and not only communicating with them. Now, when it comes to first approaching a prospect, most likely not, you're going to have to go through somebody, the gatekeeper or whatever you like to call them. And this person usually dictates whether the road to the decision maker or the negotiation table is going to be long and bumpy, short and smooth, or non-existent, because that's also an option. So if you're able to establish some sort of a connection with this person, no matter how small, because I know it's quite difficult just on the first meeting, that's going to go a long way with getting the transition to the decision maker a lot shorter, quicker, and smoother. Now, when it comes to the negotiation table and sitting down with the decision maker, keeping in mind the importance of connecting with that person, let me provide two options. Option one, hi, how you doing? My name's Sam. You sit down and you go straight in with the sales pitch. Now, if you're really good at what you do, there's a very good chance that you're going to have a successful meeting and get some work. But let me present to you option two, is spend time getting to know the person. A little bit of small talk. Hi, how you doing? Where you come from? Mention their geographical location. Try and find some common interest between you. Build a connection with this person. Allow them the opportunity to feel the passion you have about the company, how authentic you are when you communicate, to establish a little bit of trust. And all that goes to building a strong foundation. Now, when it's times to do the sales pitch, you're jumping off a very strong foundation, and the success rate of the meeting is going to increase dramatically. But even if they do agree to work with you, our business is such that it doesn't mean that they're going to send you a job straight away. But on the back of that connection you've made with that person, that is also going to dictate when you're going to start receiving the work. And also at times you require people from the inside to go above and beyond and push your services to their colleagues. Make sure you contact Sam and his company. These guys are great, do great work, but if you don't have any connection with that person that you're in contact with, they won't be inclined. You need to get them invested in you, invested in your company, invested in your journey and what you're trying to achieve. And then they're going to go above and beyond and try their best to start the partnership itself. And also having a strong connection adds to the longevity. If you're just one of the many suppliers, even if you're doing great work, if somebody else better comes along, they'll just go with them. But a connection, it encourages loyalty, and it goes a long way to the overall longevity of the partnership. And during the course of the partnership as well, certain challenges are going to come up. But if the connection is solid, that's also going to dictate the level of understanding the clients have towards the problem and the situation itself. And if you're speaking to someone and they end up going to another company themselves who is not a client, there's a very good chance that they're going to start sending you work on the back of that connection, because they already know you, they already trust you, and they just go to another company and they could start sending you work as well. Now on to my next slide, which is trust is difficult to earn and easy to lose. Now, I don't want to go into detail with regards to just how important trust is, because we all know this already and it's been talked about millions of times. But what I want to talk about and showcase are the principles which help me gain trust. One of the key components in gaining trust is transparency. Showing an openness and willingness to answer your client's questions, and at times even encouraging them to ask questions. Be willing to share information about your company and talk about anything. Because if a client asks you certain things about your company, and if you try to brush it off, or if you're unwilling to answer, and if you act in a negative way, there's a very good chance that that's going to affect the overall partnership in a negative way as well. But if you're open and willing and invite questions, that's going to impact the partnership as well in a positive way. So make sure you're open and willing when it comes to communicating with the client. And it also reduces the perceived risk that the clients have when choosing to use your services, because often not, there is a leap of faith that the client has to take when it comes to using a new supplier. Another big factor when it comes to gaining someone's trust is having a strong sense of morality. Now, being able to be empathetic to the client's situation, understand the situation that they're in, rather than just looking at them as a source of income. Of course, this is business and we need to make money, but the way in which we make that money is what's going to define us as professionals, define the companies we work for, and overall define the quality of the relationships we have with our clients. So if your company encourages a strong moral compass, If they encourage you to have a strong moral compass, the credibility of your company and sales team is going to increase dramatically, and the trust with the clients is going to increase as well. And more often than not, the companies that they have associations with, they're going to mention you to them, and that's going to lead to organic growth through word of mouth referrals. Now, we all know just how important trust is, but the main reason for me, the main reason that trust is important is that it opens the door to effective communication, allowing the customers to express their needs and concerns openly, which is very, very important. Communication is key, which brings on to my next slide. Communication is key. Now, establishing clear channels of communication with your client provides you with valuable insights into their needs, which results in opportunities for growth. It is essential to create a communication infrastructure that encourages direct, honest feedback. Your clients need to feel comfortable coming to you about any worries that they have regarding the partnership, because I'm sure many of you have experienced it. There could be certain cases where if the client just approached you about a situation and said, I don't like this, or can we do this differently, it might have saved the partnership. But because that infrastructure was not there, the communication channels were not there, they didn't come to you. So it's very important to focus on building an environment that allows communication to flow freely. Let me just have a drink of water. And get a look at this beautiful slide. So, and we can speculate forever just about what the client wants and what their needs are, but getting the knowledge right from the source is a tremendous advantage. And you're not going to be relying on your ability to interpret the client's actions and what they think, getting the knowledge right from the source. And this brings to one of the most important points I want to drill home in the webinar, which is be authentic. Often sales experts talk about originality and doing things a little bit different from the competition so that you stand out. And I've noticed that this advice is often interpreted incorrectly, and it ends up just being your newest approach of sending a really funny meme in your email for a month until you read another LinkedIn article and then you change your way. Sales is not about tricking clients anymore. We live in the information age, and people are far too informed and are no longer susceptible to the misdirection of salespeople, showing them a shiny, glittery object with this hand while you're trying to dip your hand in the pocket with the other. It does not work. And honestly, I'm very thankful for this, because sales is not a dirty profession. It's not infested with money-hungry thieves. And over my years in sales, when I've talked to people about me working in sales, they've often looked down on us and looked at me like, what, you work in sales? And, you know, like the term sleazy salesman, and they think it's like we're more of a nuisance than professionals. And I'm really proud of working in sales. You know, there is amazing professionals that I get to work with on a daily basis who are passionate about the companies they work for and believe in the services that they're selling. And if you feel this way about the company you work for, all you need to do is be authentic and genuine when you communicate with the clients, and the clients are going to feel this positive energy, and they are going to reciprocate it. They're going to, the positivity you have for the company and the positive feelings you're giving out about the company, it's infectious, and they're going to start to reciprocate it as well. Now, of course, if a salesman dislikes the company they work for, it's not going to work. And unfortunately, your sales team is never going to reach its full potential. I like to compare, this comparison's usually used when it comes to choosing the partner you want to spend the rest of your life with. The person you choose to spend the rest of your life with is going to make you twice the person you can be, or half the person you can be. And it is the same thing when it comes to the company you work for. They're either going to make you half the professional you can be or twice the professional you can be. So it's very important that the company is nurturing an environment that encourages individuality. True authenticity comes when you have the freedom to experiment and put your own spin on things. So have faith in the people you've hired, trust your sales team, and support them as much as possible. So just to summarize, connect with your clients, focus on building trust, establish strong channels of communication, and above all, be authentic. Which brings me on to the next chapter in the presentation, which is Selling Translation Services 101, the nitty-gritty. Consequences. Many of you know each project carries with it tremendous consequences, and every project could be the difference between making or breaking a partnership. So you need to be constantly mindful of these effects and empathetic to your client's situation. It's not like walking into a shop and until now you usually buy sneakers and today, oh, you know what, I'm going to buy a Mars bar. It's not how it works. Deciding to use a new supplier in our business is a big decision, and it holds a lot of potential risk for the clients. So you need to treat each and every project with the deserved respect and attention. Stay focused on the big picture. Now, our business is built on long-term relationships and not making quick sales. We're not selling vacuum cleaners here. And as an example, at One Stop, we've got clients that we've been working with for over 20 years, decades, and it all starts from the very beginning. You only get one chance to make a first impression, and you need to make sure it's the right impression. If a client forms a negative opinion of your company right from the get-go, there's a very good chance that they're going to make a note in their system and you'll just get blacklisted. And no matter what you do, no matter how many times you approach them or whatever, how you approach them, worst case, it could just get worse. You'll just become a nuisance and it just gets worse and worse and worse. So always keep in mind the big picture, especially when you're trying to make a decision when it comes to negotiating with the client. Because if you make a compromise in the short term, when you're negotiating with the client, it could bring big results in the long term. So remember to be logical and try and think a few steps ahead when it comes to communicating with the client and making decisions in the negotiation table as well. Now, the most important thing in translation sales, other than being authentic, of course, is positioning yourself in the number one spot. I'm sure many of you know it's very rare that you approach a company, approach a potential client, make a sales pitch, and they're like, yep, I'm going to start sending you work right now. It's not how our business works. We're not selling vacuum cleaners, as I said before. And there's many factors that need to synchronize in order for you to get the project from the client. You're initially providing a solution. You're trying to provide a solution to someone without a problem. You're approaching clients who already have suppliers, don't really require your services. So it's often enough you're waiting for the opportunity to come up in order for them to use you. But the things that need to all fit in order for this to happen is, do you have the resource for the client, first of all? Does the client budget fit into your prices? And have you managed to build enough trust with the client? Have you managed to do a good enough job for them to approach you with the opportunity? And all these things need to synchronize in order for you to actually get the project. So if your first attempt at sales is unsuccessful, don't worry. It's how the business is. You need to focus on putting yourself in a number one spot. So when the opportunity presents itself, you're the first company they think of. And how do we do that? The first thing is, as I mentioned before, you need to make a really good impression using the tips I've already said. The second one is doing regular follow-ups performed within a reasonable time frame. Remember, reasonable time frame here. Another option, a tactic that I use, is sending non-sales related emails. You've got Halloween coming up, you've got Christmas, stuff like that. And I use this opportunity to send to our closest partners and certain prospects I'm focusing on best wishes. It's just a beautiful graphic with wishing you the best, this, that, and the other. There is no sales pressure whatsoever. I just want to wish them the best for the holidays. And it all goes to generating a positive energy between you and the client. When they think of Sam, I want them to think of Sam's a great guy. He's not too pushy. He's sending us these great cards because you're communicating with people who are pretty much every single email they get requires an action. So all of a sudden you're getting this lovely graphic, the lovely cards like wishing you best for the holidays. It often generates a positive feeling with the client. And that's very important. So when they think of me, I want them to think, yep, that's a great guy. It's a great company. He's been diligent. He's passionate about his company and stuff like that. Also, congratulating the client on a notable achievement. If you've got another certification, if they want an award or something, use this opportunity to approach them, and it shows that you have you're invested in their company, invested in their journey, and say, congratulations on the award and so on and so forth. If you're in contact with a specific person and they have a birthday, send them happy birthday, I wish you the best. It's all about keeping yourself fresh in the client's mind without applying too much sales pressure. Finding these opportunities to approach and contact and establish some sort of connection with the client without having the stink of sales on the communication. Also, if you've got something new going in your company, if you've got a new award or whatever new certification, a new service you want to mention to them, send them a message about that. Just so you know, I thought you might be interested. This is what we're offering. This is what we've been developing. This is what our goal is. It's out of the norm, out of the usual sales email that you're going to send them. So if you don't make the sale the first time, remember, don't get discouraged. To all those salespeople out there, don't get discouraged. It's not how our business works. We're not selling vacuum cleaners. Focus on positioning yourself in the number one spot. And when the opportunity comes up, ideally, you're going to be the first company they think of. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the actual lifespan of a sale, beginning with the very first approach. You need to be organized and focused on time management because, after all, you're going to be in contact with many different companies on all different various stages of the negotiation, and you cannot afford to miss anything. Our business, the translation localization business, it's filled with professionals who are used to immediate action to be taken. We're sending projects, you want that answer straight away. So you need to be diligent and make sure you don't miss anything. Because if a client sends you a confirmation for a meeting and you don't reply for 3 weeks, often not, you're going to approach them about it and they're just going to say, no, I'm not interested, mate. I already know enough about your company based on the fact that you spent 3 weeks to get back to me. So the next two are classics. When it comes to approaching a client, try your best to find the right person. Don't just send an email to a CEO if you think that, if there's a vendor manager out there whose specific responsibility is to deal with yourself and stuff like that. So find the right person, and also do research on the company. Spend some time getting to know them and look for opportunities. Look for snippets of information that allows you the opportunity to tailor your approach. Now, when it comes to the method of approach, in my opinion, it boils down to 3 different methods. You have email, calls, and LinkedIn. And in my opinion, emailing is still the very best choice. Before COVID, calling was quite iffy in our industry. It's quite hard to get through to somebody, and often not when you're making the call, they might be very busy. But after COVID, with so many professionals working remotely, it's very, very hard to get through to someone by a call. When it comes to LinkedIn, it's been gathering a lot of popularity over the years, LinkedIn marketing, LinkedIn sales. But for me, LinkedIn should be used for research or for approaching specific people about specific things. As an example, if you've been trying to approach company X, and you have a connection on LinkedIn, you could say, hi, Bob. I've been trying to approach your company about this reason via this email, but I haven't been getting a reply. Could you please give me a little bit of a suggestion with regards to who I should contact, what another email I should use, or a little bit of direction about what I should do? Specific things, contacting a specific person about a specific thing, not just blasting out general sales emails, because I'm sure all of you will agree, it's irritating. Now, you might have a different opinion, but for me, emailing is still king. It's still the best option, and but it's very important to have a very clear vision about what you're trying to achieve with your email. Now, when I have a potential client, my goal is always to schedule a meeting. That's what I want. I want to get on the call because that's when I do my best work. On the call, speaking to someone. So be very specific. And as we're talking about researching the company as well. All this goes in to tailoring the email, finding the right things, making it the very best version of itself, this actual email, because email is it's like a piece of clay. It requires the skill, the experience, the intuition of a very capable salesperson to mold this into the right pot that you're going to be presenting to this person, be like, yep, this is the pot for you. This is the best thing for you. So take time and have a very clear vision what you're trying to achieve with the email. And when it comes to writing an email, there's a few constant aspects that goes into every email that usually generates a high success rate. And that starts with the subject. Now, people talk about the subject, and the idea is the goal of the subject is to get somebody to open the email. But if I write on the email, you've won $1 million, and someone opens it, oh no, he's selling Asian language translation services, right there and then we get off to a bad start. So you are looking for originality. You are looking for doing it different. It needs to be short, but in my opinion, when in doubt, and this is tips which anybody can use, keep it short, keep it professional, and just be direct. When in doubt, don't try to be too crazy. Just whatever, partnership opportunity or whatever. Keep it very direct. You're approaching intelligent individuals, and if you do it the right way, more often than not, they're going to open it. Another guideline is obviously you need to, hi, how you doing? Hope you're well. You need to introduce yourself. This is non-avoidable. Somebody might have a different opinion, but you need to say, my name's Sam. I work for this company, and in so many words, the reason why you're trying to contact them. And of course, at the very end, your call to action. This is basic sales, but the magic of the email is what happens in between the introduction and the call to action. Now, if I had a ready-made template which I could give to you, which is gonna give you a 100% success rate, I'm not going to be sitting here doing a webinar. I'm going to be on the beach in the Maldives drinking a cocktail because I'm going to be a millionaire. It's when it comes to creating that magic, the meat of the email, it's all down to the capability of the salesperson and the experience. That's why you need to be authentic. You need to look at the company, research the company, analyze it, find the key things that stick out to you, try and be empathetic to their position. What will they think? What are they going to be focused on? And you could go down the option of, presenting pain points, solutions, stating facts about your company. Another thing you could do is sit down and actually think, why do you like working for your company? What are you proud about? And use that. And that all goes down to being authentic. But there's no ready-made template that I can give you. You've just got to trial and error, experiment, rely on the experience of your sales team, and research the companies you're approaching, and tailor that email specifically for them. Oh, I've just lost my play. So, yep. I just want to finish this part with trust in your sales team again. I want to reiterate that. Trust in your sales team. I'm sure your HR departments are great and they've spent time hiring really competent sales individuals. Don't micromanage. Set them free. Allow them to experiment. Allow them to put their own spin on things, because our industry is of such. It's not like Wolf of Wall Street where I can give you a script and then you can just each client is different. Each client has a different focus. Each client is very different, and it's the intuition that your salesperson has and their ability which is going to really get through. And when it comes to the approach. Which brings on to the next part of the cycle, and that is closing the deal. Now, whether by email, call, or LinkedIn, as I mentioned before, my goal is always to get to a meeting. This is where the real magic happens for me. And the secret to having an amazing meeting is very simple. Having a casual conversation. Show interest in the person you're communicating with. You're trying to find common interests, and there's no secret. You just go into the meeting. How are you doing today? Often not, they're not going to be open. They're not going to open up. Yeah, I'm doing great. And if they say, how are you doing? For instance, let me just share a little bit on me. Yesterday, I was called to the kindergarten of my daughter because she fell over and split her chin open, and we had to go to the emergency room to get stitches. So if someone asks me today in a meeting, how you doing? I'm going to be like, oh my God, yesterday I had such a day. And it's share. You give first. You open up about a little thing. You open up about not anything with regards to the geographical location, what you're doing. You try to find a common, you're trying to find a connection between you guys. And you're constantly looking for all different opportunities, little branches, which branch off to additional conversations, and trying to find commonality between you guys. What I like to say, the very best meeting, and the very best meeting is a 60-40 split. 60% non-sales related work and 40% sales related work, in my opinion. But the very best salespeople, the very best, it's 70-30. 70% talking, I'm not going to swear, but talking all that non-sales related work, and 40% and 30% work related stuff. And you don't need to fake it. I'm not talking about just faking interest, because remember, you need to be authentic. But we are blessed in our industry having the chance to communicate with really interesting individuals. Like, I'm an English guy living in Bulgaria. You know, you speak to so many people with such an interesting story of so many different nationalities and so many different geographical locations. Just ask them about how it is. You know, it's just have an interest about that person, and more often than not, that's just going to develop into a really good conversation. And some of the best connections that I have with people are people who are vendor managers who've been working with for many, many years. And you know, the best way to describe our relationship would be friends. You know, because we just communicate and we have such a good thing going. So remember, when you get to a meeting, take time to build that connection. And then when it comes to the sales part, you've got a very, very solid foundation to step on. And also a key thing, make sure you outline the next step, because you could have an amazing meeting, build an amazing connection with the people on the other, with the person on the other end of the call, but you could just leave everything up in the air. Yeah, I'll get back to you whenever. Outline the next step. So, you know, from now on, after the email, after the call, are you going to send them an email with some information? Is it going to be a test project and so on? Outline the next step. But as I said previously, getting a client to send you work from the very first meeting is very, very hard. It's more, I like to compare it to the picture, this beautiful picture I've got up here of, you know, growing an orange tree. You put the seed in the ground, you water it, fertilize the soil, you make sure it's got enough sun, pick out the weeds, water it, you nurture it, nurture it, nurture it, nurture it, and finally you're gonna have a beautiful tree with loads of oranges. And you're gonna get the fruit from the oranges. That's what it's like when it comes to partnerships and relationships in our industry. You need to spend time giving, spend time nurturing your relationship with the company, with the clients. And if you're good at what you do, and if you do it right, hopefully over time or sooner rather than later, you're going to get the fruit from that relationship. So when should you be closing? In the words of Michael Scott, ABC, always be closing. It is the momentary lack of opportunity which prolongs the conclusion, because you're always investing, always pushing, always trying to keep yourself fresh in the client's mind, but you're waiting for the opportunity. So when the opportunity comes, you then need to invest yourself into it. And the final part of the sales lifespan is follow-ups. Well, follow-ups are really important, but as I mentioned, a follow-up needs to be performed within a reasonable time frame. And I wanted to go into specifics with regards to numbers with that, and just share the way I do it. You know, you approach the client, and whatever method you choose, you approach the client, and then I usually wait a week or two to do the next follow-up. Once again, whatever method you choose, and then the one after that, usually a month, and then I would say after that, 3 months. And then after that, with regards to specifically sales matters, you need to leave it like 4 to 6 months. Obviously, during that time where we're sending them non-sales related emails, we're wishing them happy birthday, we're congratulating them. But specifically sales related emails, if you're not getting a reply, you need to wait. You send them something every 4 to 6 months, because you don't want to become a nuisance. But the goal for you, because remember, the goal is for the client to have a positive feeling when they think of you. And you can't infect that. You can't, if you become too pushy, that positivity, that emotion could just flip on its head straight away. It's all about positivity. It's all about making them, when they think of your company, think of you as a professional. They have good thoughts, and it's like, yep, these guys are great. It's just I don't really need their services, or I already have a supplier that I'm happy with, and I don't want to take the chance to use in your services. But when the opportunity comes up, when their current supplier can't handle the work, whatever the reason is, they think of you. Now on to post-deal work, which in my opinion is even more important than initial sales work. And our experience shows that partnership development is what really increases your value as a company and increases the value of the partnership. Partnership development done properly is going to ensure repeat business, which is, of course, our long-term aim. It's not about just getting that one project. We're not selling vacuum cleaners, as I've mentioned numerous times. It's about getting the regular work over, spanning over decades. But partnership development is its own animal and deserves its very own webinar. Hint, hint. So the key takeaways: passion and authenticity are a necessity no matter what you're selling. It's very important. Focus on building real relationships with your clients for long-term success. Effective communication is crucial, and creating channels of open, honest feedback is essential to building a successful partnership. And above all, trust in your sales team and encourage their individuality. That's it. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Sam. That was a mighty interesting presentation. If you have any questions, please write them in the chat, or you can also raise your hand and I'll open the microphones and you can talk to Sam.
Don't be shy. Everything,
yeah.
Whatever you guys want to talk about.
Any question you have about sales, please let us know.
Or anything.
Anything. Yes.
I'm open.
My question was maybe slightly different from what you would expect, but you have a lot of experience in sales outside of the localization industry first, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were a salesperson in other sectors. How difficult it was to switch to selling localization services?
Well, I could share that story. So I used to work for a company here in Bulgaria, which was inbound calls. And it was selling manual labor services in London. And that job entailed a lot of, I learned a lot of tips and skills from there, because you get the phone call from the client and then you need to communicate with them and you convince them to do, to go the service. But unfortunately, I was working for a company who didn't have a strong moral compass. And they were encouraging us to lie, trick the clients, underquote them. Say if a job was, say, £200, underquote them for 100, and then the guys go do the job, and then we need to then convince the client to pay the rest of the money, which is a horrible way to do business. But the positive was I refined my sales skills, because all I had was my ability to talk a phone to convince this client to pay all this money. After that, I was selling some other stuff. Another company that I worked for, it was like they were like encouraging the girls to flirt to the clients. It was horrible. I'm like, this is not me. Like, I have a real strong sense of morals and I have really strong principles. And it was just very uncomfortable. So I'm going looking for another job, and I go for an interview one stop. And I was just very lucky that Don Shane, he was visiting Bulgaria. And I sat down with Don and I'm sharing this. I'm like, listen, I'm sick of it. And Don turned around to me and he's like, Sam, all I care about is the clients. Do your job right. Do right by them. Focus on the clients, and everything else will be easy. Because I feel I have an ability as a salesperson, but what was lacking in my career was having a company that I believe in. So when I see this company is great at what it does, we have these great services, I actually believe it. Not tricking or trying to lie. I'm not trying to trick the client by using certain sales lingo or whatever. I actually believe in it, and it's just about portraying and presenting the company to the client. So the transition, it was, it wasn't as bad as you thought. I felt amazing right from the get-go. I thought, this is where I want to be. It's a great company, and I believe in what I'm doing here. Finding at the start, finding the right sales approach, because at that time, and even now in the translation industry, sales is still in its young years. We didn't really have a set out sales approach. So there was a lot of experimenting and a lot of trial and error stuff that we were trying. But obviously now the professionals that come into One Stop, we have like a ready-made sales training and stuff like that, and we can just break it down. This is what you do, this is what you don't do. So there was a learning period, and at the start, I didn't get my first sale for like 3 months, and there was another guy who got a project after the first month, and I'm getting discouraged. I'm like, oh my God, because I'm used to getting those everyday sales. But it took me a while to figure out that it's a different industry. Selling in translation services is very, very unique. It's very unique, and you need to understand it, and you need to build those connections. And you go to conferences, it's the same people. It's a very personal industry.
Which brings me to a question from the audience, actually, from
sorry,
Ade. No, I think it's connected to what you're saying. Ade is asking, considering the industry and your experiences, what kind of profile do you think we need to look for when trying to hire a marketing and salesperson?
Well, a marketing person, you know, no, I guess I do have certain marketing experience. I can't really talk on that, but you know, it's marketing, no matter the industry, I see it's pretty much it's kind of the same way. You know, you need to have a strong online presence. You need to be creating content, engaging content that's interesting, that's informative, educational. It needs to have value, the content that you're trying to create. You need to have a strong online presence, doing webinars like this, you know, going to conferences. You need to be putting your name out there and make sure that they associate you in a positive way. When it comes to a sales professional, no, you can either go two routes. You can go after an experienced person who has many years of sales experience, and they could just come into the job and just adapt straight away. But they might come with certain, we'll call it baggage from the previous experience if they've never worked in the translation industry. And you might sit down and try to explain to them, you know, this is the way it's going. You know, you don't, it's all about like building, taking your time, you know, and they might be used to just that fast paced, and it might hinder them. But I've noticed if you just get someone, right, it's very important that someone's going to fit the company culture. And if you get someone who's open and willing to learn, if they have a ability to have a conversation and hold a conversation with somebody, and just because that's a lot of it just comes down to that. Are you likable? Are you able to build that connection with somebody? You could ask me, Sam, what's the ins and outs of MTP, whatever, you know what I mean? In our industry, of course, you need to be knowledgeable of the stuff you're selling, but it comes down to the person who's selling it. And you can get a really, you know, a 20-year-old guy or girl who's just really open, really bubbly, really and like open to learn. And you could just sit down and say, listen, if you have a really good like sales training structure that you've created, do this, don't do this. And if you mentor and nurture the team, they'll pick it up right there and then.
So
And
look for attitude, basically.
attitude, all about attitude.
Personality.
Because you could have that experience, but then you come in and you know, he could ruin the whole team, ruin this and that problem. So I would say attitude over everything.
Okay, another question from Daniel this time about the industry. How does the conversion rate looks like?
Oh, I assume we're talking with regards to approaching prospects. It depends the time frame in which you're measuring the conversion rates, because I have situations where I've been approaching a client for 3 years and then they send us a project. But I would say usually anywhere between 3 to 8 months you're looking at from that very first approach to them sending the first project. Usually if you're doing a good job during that time period, there will be an opportunity for them to try your services, whether it be just for one project or whatever. Usually within there, the conversion rate, you know, it's below 50%. I guess, you know, actual numbers, I haven't sat down and analyzed it, but if you're hitting 30 to 40%, if 30-40% of the companies that you're approaching, you turn them into clients, now or within a couple of years, you're doing a really good job. In my opinion, because
Very good. A question from Ricard. How many accounts how many accounts or potential leads can a salesperson handle so that they can have a meaningful conversation with all of them?
Excellent question. Well, it all depends on the salesperson themselves, because at One Stop, there was a certain time where I was responsible for many different markets, until we managed to find the right salespeople that fit our company. Because it's all about attitude, and you know, if the person has got the right attitude, it could hinder the company. So it all depends on the individual. Are they able to manage their time enough to give valuable attention? Because if you feel, and that's why there needs to be openness between the sales team and the managers as well, if they feel that you're unable to cover, or say if you're given 100 companies and you're unable to do it, you need to tell your manager and say, listen, the quality of the conversations or the quality of my work of attention that I'm showing to each of these clients is not as good as it should be because I just don't have the physical time.
Mhm.
And also it depends on the companies themselves. Are we talking about companies who you're in active communication with? But usually at this moment in time now, I think having like 20 negotiations, when I say negotiations, I'm talking about ongoing communication with the clients that
Mhm.
you're trying to convert. Now, in amongst those 20 communications, I'm going to be approaching new clients until they get to the communication stage, until they get to the negotiation stage. But
Mhm.
when it comes to sales negotiation in the language industry, of course, you need to reply immediately, but it's obviously a drawn out process over a
Mhm.
period of weeks, months. It's, there's a lot. And if you're waiting for the client to respond as well, I didn't mention it here, give them breathing space. You don't know what they're dealing with. You don't know how
Mm.
busy they are. Don't
Yeah.
pester them. So 20 negotiations, you're able to juggle 20 negotiations easily, in my opinion. And in between that as well, if none of those negotiations require attention, you're contacting you. So I usually set aside, if I have a communication, obviously I reply right there and then, and it goes into I call it my to-do folder. Every Monday is to-do day. I go through my folder and I see all of the ongoing negotiations, at what stage they are, and what type of, whether I need to take any action every single Monday. So amongst that time, if I have no
Mhm.
emails coming through, if I don't need anything else doesn't need my attention, I'm sending emails, or whatever, researching, emails,
Yeah.
and then I'm just adding it. But 20 communications, I think if they can handle it, it's
Yeah.
fine. Obviously, if they can do more, even better.
Okay. Then we have another question from Noelia. Apart from the 70-30 percentage rules during calls with your clients, do you have any other structures or tips?
I do. The first thing is you need to prepare prior to the meeting. You need to, well, I'll just be completely open and share with you the way I do it. So I have facts about the partnership, no, or facts about whether you approach a new client, facts about the company,
Mm.
opportunities or talking points which I want to touch on and want to discuss, whether it be certain services where I see opportunity to offer them or whatever. And then I have the moving forward part, which is blank, obviously, because I fill that in after the email, after the meeting.
Mhm.
So you go through there, spend time building a relationship, communicating, establishing a connection with the client, and then now you have these facts, right? You have these things, but it's not set in stone. You need to feel the conversation. Now, if you see the
Mhm.
opportunity to touch, or if there's like a stalemate in the conversation, you could say, "Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about this," or if there's something that you really want to speak to them about, you mention it. But you need to look for the right time. It's just common sense. Look for the right time in the conversation where you get to the stage where the conversation is becoming, let's say, forced, and then you say like, "Oh, let's do a little bit of work here because that's why we're here." And then you say, "Right, I want to discuss this. How you guys tackling this? How you guys tackling this?"
Mm.
And then it all depends on the company you're communicating with. Once again, you're tailoring the talking points depending on the research of the company.
Mhm.
If they're focused on media services or voice or whatever, you're going to focus on that, and you need to tailor it for that. But make sure you get that next step locked down. Don't leave it up
Mhm.
in the air, as I said in the presentation. Right, so we're going to do the test translation.
Mhm.
Right, so I'm going to send you this information. You're going to review it. We'll
Mm.
talk about pricing. Get back to me. Make sure
Yeah,
you wear a nice suit, a shirt or something. Look presentable. I know a lot
of
of us work
course.
from home, but look a little bit presentable. And yeah, just now I'm not giving this as advice, but often enough I just wing it. I just I've experienced, I know what I'm talking about, so I just feel comfortable enough. Just let
Mm.
me just wing it and just let's see how it goes. And you've got the clear guidelines in your head, and you just use them as guidance, and just look
Yeah,
for the opportunities to take that and
yeah.
implement it in the conversation.
Thank you. There are two more questions. I think you kind of answered those as well already, but just for, for completeness sake. So how long does it usually take you to close a deal? Give us your best result.
I mean, well, I've had deals like a week. The best result is yep, no
Mhm.
problem. Thank you so much. We're looking for a new supplier right now. We have problems with our current and like a week, but the average will be 3 to 8 months. Like I said, these people already have solutions. They are, and for them to, nobody likes new stuff often enough. You have your routines, you have the way you work, and if that works for you, it does take a lot for you to try something new. And often those opportunities come from their supplier messing up, or their supplier not being able to cover the workload, and it's like, right, I need a little bit of help. Can you help there? And it usually starts off small.
Exactly. And another question you already answered, but still, do I have to develop some sort of charisma to do sales? I believe the answer is attitude and being open and authentic.
So yes, if you mean, but well, let me say no. If what this person means by charisma is to put on an act. It's nowadays people know, honestly, it's not like selling in the 90s or something. People are so informative, and it's such a personal industry. So if you're trying to put on an act, you're going to feel it straight away. And you're like, no, what's this guy doing? And then you have suspicion about this person, his intent. It's not charisma. That will be the result of it. But just, let me just be, how are you doing? How's the weather? How did you get into translations? How have you been? If there's anything that you like to share, depending on the geographical location, there might be certain topics of discussion that require acknowledgement. Otherwise, it's going to be insensitive. And then charisma is what comes afterwards. When you're used to it, when you're used to doing that, and then you don't really think about email, the questions. It just comes naturally, and then So you do, but as long as it's not fake, you're not putting on an act here. Be authentic and just find your way to do it. Trust in yourself, experiment.
Okay, so we have let's see. So we have some remarks from Michael. So he says, first of all, great presentation, Sam.
Cheers,
3 points. Point 1, I also think it's vital to search someone's LinkedIn in order to make a connection, to establish trust. Point 2, it's also refreshing to hear how email is still the key point of contact above all else. I can't tell you how many times I've annoyed a potential client with an uninvited cold call. And it's funny because Sam and I were talking about emails, sending emails in 2023. Is it still worth it? Is it still useful? And Sam was saying, yes, absolutely. So
there is no other option until, as I said this earlier on to Isabella, until AI creates some sort of telepathic way of communication. There's no other way. Call in LinkedIn, these can be in the follow-ups. If you're not getting a response in an email, you can use that. But just so what Michael said about LinkedIn, yep, I usually, when I send an email to somebody, I send them a connection request as well. I didn't mention I do that, but I don't send them a message. Because never in the second or third follow-up, you might say, if they accept your connection, you might use that as a channel of communication. But and obviously we can sit here and talk till tomorrow about what should the email include, but it's still going to be an email. It's still going to be an email. And like I mentioned, you've got the key components there that are unwavering, and it's the bit in the middle, and it's just
as long as it's not an AI generated email, but an authentic one.
AI is a big topic. If you want to talk about AI, me being a native British speaker, it's fair enough for me to say don't use AI to write your emails because I have a certain level of a certain grasp over the English language. But if I'm speaking to someone in another country, if they want to take advantage of, say, getting an email written by AI, they can do it. But honestly, I plead with you, don't just send an email. Polish it. Put your own life and blood, put your own into it, because although an AI email might sound really intellectual and really great words, it does stand out. It stands out straight away. So use it as the structure you could use and then polish it off. But I stay away from AI because I'm worried that if I become so dependent on AI, if I'm put in a situation where I don't have access to chat. If I'm in the middle of a meeting, wait, let me just search
Mhm.
this. It's going to hinder my ability. So I kind of
Yeah.
stay away from it. But if you want to use it, just do it and make sure you polish it and review everything after.
Yeah, and maybe this is a topic for another presentation. And Michael's third comment was a great point regarding keeping our name in front of them. The client won't think about translations until they need them. When that time arises, having our name in front of them is invaluable.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much, Michael, for your feedback.
Yeah,
And
thanks, Michael.
let's see. Yeah, we've answered all questions. So
I have one
Sam,
here
you did your first Gala webinar. Congratulations. How do you feel now?
I feel really good. To be honest, I
Excellent.
was really nervous, but I
think
see on my screen with regards to the cameras is just your camera, Isabella, and I feel like I'm just presenting to you. I don't know how
yeah,
many people are watching, but if I saw everybody's video, if I saw everybody's cameras, I think I would feel even more nervous. But I feel really good about it, and
excellent.
I hope it was meaningful. And I would just like to say, if anybody wants to contact me and share ideas, I'm always open for it. Here's my email, and silly graphic from me is Deo. Just send me an email. I'm always open to communicate. If you want to share, if you want to just talk about sales or whatever, I'm more than happy to have a conversation with anybody.
Okay, excellent. And I see that there are some very good comments in the chat. Ricardo is saying, outstanding, congratulations.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for the presentation. A lot of thanks, lots of love for you, Sam. So
Thank you.
I'm going to close the session now, but please stay online for a couple of seconds. You'll see a post-webinar survey. Please fill it in. Let Sam know, give Sam some feedback about his presentation. Let us know. I see a lot of clapping on my screen, so well done.
Thank you very much.
We'll have to invite you back for a follow-up.
I'm open to
no
it.
doubts, no doubts about that. So as I said, please fill in the webinar survey. Feel free to contact Sam if you have any questions, or if you just want to talk with him about sales and share ideas. And just for the record, we have a webinar tomorrow, 8 p.m. Pacific time. 8 a.m. sorry, Pacific time, which is 5 p.m. for us in Europe, and it's going to be about AI and multilingual events. So if you have time, please join us then. Sam, thank you again. Have a fantastic day, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you
Bye,
very much.
everyone.